Hello, everybody. It's Wendy Lloyd Curley, and I am here to bring you a little bit of training. This short training should give you a lot of good information about how to deal with Zoom in a positive way that's fun and engaging for your visitors throughout the lockdown. So while all of our chapter meetings are online, I thought this was a timely training for you. So meetings are all about visitors, aren't they? And so the topic for this training is how to make Zoom meetings fun and professional for visitors. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing is, I want you to invite with enthusiasm. You may not think that Zoom meetings are fun and exciting, but you know what? They are if you make them fun and exciting. So here are a couple ways I would invite people to your meetings. I would say, you know what? We are so lucky. We keep running our meetings throughout the lockdown. You can come to our Zoom meeting and promote your business. What a great giving alternative for them. What something they can do, something they can do online, and something that helps them promote their business. Here's another one. Let's say our architect is presenting this week, and I think the topic would be really interesting for you. So either maybe they're going to be doing some renovations themselves and they could meet the architect, or maybe they're a builder who might want to meet the architect, or maybe they're an architect and they'd want to see the presentation of the architect. There's so many people you could invite to see each and every presentation. So pay attention. Let's see what else. I want you to pre-introduce your visitors to a few members. There is nothing more compelling than thinking that someone is at the meeting waiting for you to be there. So if you have a visitor that's coming, why don't you do a quick email introduction to let them know about someone else in the chapter who you think they would be really smart to get to know? All right. Then make sure that each visitor has the Zoom link. If you don't send that link yourself, make sure you understand the process. Who sends it? When did they send it? That way you can set expectations for your visitor appropriately. And make sure each visitor knows what time to join. If you start your meeting, for example, at 7 o'clock, you don't want them to arrive right at 7. You want to invite them to arrive at about 6:45 for some open networking and a sharp 7 o'clock start. So that's the words that I would use. Please log in at 6:45 for a 7 o'clock start because there's a few people I want you to meet before we start the meeting. And that's a great way to make sure that they arrive on time and feel comfortable. All right, so that's what we do before the meeting. What about during the meeting? Well, first of all, you as a member should arrive early. If you're inviting your visitors to get there for 6:45 for a 7 o'clock start, then that means all the members better be there by 6:45. My suggestion, and this is of course something you should talk to your leadership team about, is that if the visitors are arriving at 6:45, the latest you should be on that call and ready to go is at 6:40. So make sure that you're bright and perky and ready to go before the visitors arrive. There are a couple of alternatives for the way we can run Zoom meetings, and one way I've seen that's very successful is after all the members are there at 6:40, you put the members into breakout groups for the open networking part of the meeting. That way you're in smaller groups and you can talk to each other, and when visitors arrive, we will place them into your little breakout room and you can then have a smaller conversation with them. It's a lot easier as a visitor to talk to a few people than to talk to the entire chapter at the same time. You might want to mix up these groups each week. I know that if you're always going into your contact spheres, that might get a little bit monotonous for you as a member, but maybe one week you do it in contact spheres, the next week you do it according to your favorite sport. Another week you could do it according to the length of membership, like who's been there the longest can go into one room and who's brand new can go into another room. You can play with things a little bit. Just have some fun with it and make sure that the open networking part always recognizes the visitors when they arrive. Very important. You also want to welcome the visitors and set some expectations, don't you? A couple of options again, you can welcome them with a short script and set expectations for the meeting, and then put them into an open networking breakout room like I talked about before. Or you could use a breakout room and then let the visitor host welcome the visitors, go through their script, and then put them back into the main room. A couple different ways you could do it. Of course, and this is just really important. I've been visiting a few chapters and you guys are doing a great job. Here are my suggestions. Please do this. Be professional. come dressed for work. Don't be dressed for home. You never know who's going to be in the room. The visitors who visit are judging us. They can't help it. They're judging us, and you want to look like your profession. You want to look like your best customer just walked into the room. How would you want them to see you? That's what you need to dress like. You want to be using a computer, not a phone. You want to be very professionally laid out in front of your computer. You want to be well lit from the front. Really important not to be backlit, but to be front lit. So you might need to go and find some things or move the way that your computer is set up so that you're lit from the front. You want a professional background. So you notice that I always try and use a professional background so that you don't get distracted by everything that's behind me. Um, don't be eating while you're doing the meeting. It's interesting enough to eat during a breakfast meeting, isn't it? But during a Zoom meeting, it just doesn't look good, does it? You see people sitting there and they're munching away, and you can't tell if they're paying attention. We actually need to pay more attention during a Zoom meeting than during a regular meeting because everybody's looking at us. Let's see, you shouldn't be working on anything else. And that goes without saying, but I know that we do it. I know that we try to multitask, but really, we already have saved time. We've already saved time by not having to drive to a venue, get out, do the parking, go in, go out. All of that time's been saved. So while you're there, be there. Turn off your phone just like you would if you were at the normal meeting. Don't use the chat for things that are going to distract people, but use the chat for things that are going to add value to the meeting. And don't be working on anything else. If you do have your camera, for example, my camera's right here. If my screen is over here where I can see everybody, you'll notice that it doesn't really look like I'm paying attention if I'm not talking. So right now, you know I'm paying attention to you, even though I'm not looking at you. But what about now? It doesn't really look like I'm watching the meeting. You can't really tell. So move your camera so that your camera is on the same screen as where the people are, so that you're actually looking at that. All right, what else? Be there. Be there. Be there while you can be, and be there while you get the opportunity to be in your Ugg boots while you're sitting there. Listen. You might want to take notes to stay engaged. I find that that helps me stay involved and stay engaged. One of our chapters actually takes a little quiz at the end of the referral request moment, so that it just keeps everybody paying attention. And he openly will ask, what kind of referral was this person looking for? And what was the big message from that person? It keeps you on your toes to be writing those things down and keeps you paying attention. And mute unless you're talking, and then unmute when you need to present something. So there you go. There's some be professional hints. Be prepared. Have your referral request and your I have report ready. Your referral request needs to stay within the time limit, because even though we're on Zoom, time is important. So make sure that you are preparing and timing your presentations, especially if you've got your long 10-minute or 8-minute or shorter presentation going. You want to make sure you've practiced that and are ready for it. And your I have report. I want you to do your referral requests, your thank you for closed business, and your testimonials. Those are the three things you should be saying during the I have moment. You should definitely also say the person's name and their business name. Why? Everybody in the room knows who they are, don't they? No. Remember, the meeting is for the visitors. The visitors don't remember who Adrian is. They need to hear Adrian, the chiropractor. So you need to make sure that you say the name and the specialty that they have, and say, thank you for closed business. Adrian, the chiropractor, gave me a great referral the other week. I've closed that business and I just wanted to say thank you. Yeah, it's really important. It ties the two together. More important on Zoom because they can't really see the eye-to-eye interaction happening. And then what else? Do thank the visitors for coming. Now, not everybody in the chapter needs to do this, but if you invited the visitor, you certainly need to thank them. And if you could do business with that visitor, you should probably thank them for coming too, and thank the person who invited them so that they get credit for that as well. And last but not least, don't report one-to-ones or chapter education units. You do not need to report these in the I have section. In fact, it's not part of the agenda to do so. You do need to do them, have one-to-ones, have good ones, and definitely do your CEU points. But there is no need to report those at the meeting because the vice president reports those during the update of the whole chapter. All right. So that's during the meeting. Well, what do we do after the meeting? Well, here we go. After the meeting, you should call your visitor and thank them for coming. If you invited your visitor, call them right away and say, wow, thank you so much for being there. Do you have any questions? Can I help you at all? You know, is there anybody I could connect you with? What did you think? Get their feedback. Notice I didn't ask them once if they wanted to join. They will already know that and they will bring that to the table. They might say, it's not for me. And you can say, great, that's not why I invited you. I invited you so you could meet all of those people. Yeah? All right. And if you are in a position to give referrals to somebody who came as a visitor, you could call them and let them know that. Here's my suggestions. Thank them for coming. Let them know that you like to refer to BNI members. Tell them that you currently send your referrals to people in other chapters and invite them to consider an application. Now remember, you can't invite them to join. They can't just join a chapter, but they can put in an application and the membership committee can interview them and assess whether they're right for the chapter. Okay, it's all in the right wording. And then what else can you do after the meeting? You can invite a visitor to see next week's presentation. Remember, the treasurer presents on who the upcoming speakers are. You should take a note of that and see if you can invite someone to come and watch that presentation. And you can also invite a visitor in an open category to experience the next meeting. If you invite 2 people every week right after the meeting that you're at, I bet you will always have visitors come to the meeting. So just make a mental note of that. If you think about whose presentation is coming up and who would be a good audience member, and you look at the list of open categories and think to yourself, I'm going to invite someone from that open category for next week's meeting. Chances are you will always have visitors coming to your chapter. You'll get better and better at inviting people. So there you go. Those are my quick tips on how to make Zoom meetings fun and professional for visitors. Always think of the meeting from a visitor's perspective and you will never go wrong. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got a lot out of that and share it with other people. Thanks. See you soon.